What if the key to unlocking true freedom and having more fun and creating the profit that you want in your coaching business wasn't some magic formula you had to figure out? Rather, it is a simple experiment. My name's Kevin Weiss. I have been coaching for over a decade now, and in the last 3 years, I've helped coaches in over 23 different niches generate 24 million in revenue and make a massive impact in the world. And when I was first getting started in coaching, I spent months trying to build the perfect funnel. I obsessed over every little detail before getting it launched because I wanted it to be absolutely perfect. I grew up as a perfectionist. Maybe you did too, but I was valedictorian in my class, all-star athlete, tons of awards. Like there was a lot of great stuff that came with that. But there was also, and it took me a while to really learn this and come to come to the realization that there was actually a lot of negative stuff that came along with that too. And one of the really challenging pieces with that is exactly what I just shared. I obsessed over getting everything right. If somebody said I was wrong about something, I would argue with them. Whether or not I was actually right, I just did not want to be wrong. I had this sense of pride, right? And that really hurt me as I came into my business career and I was working on this funnel. I obsessed over everything. I wanted to get it right. And so I worked on it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And months later, I finally launched this funnel. I had put in so much effort and time and energy and money, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is going to be awesome. And the whole thing flopped. I was so mad, just all the time and energy, just like everything I put into it. I felt like I put my heart and soul into this thing and it just completely flopped. And one of the things I learned though through that process is that it's it's not about whether or not the thing succeeds or fails, right? It's about that process of learning and growing. And there was this one specific scientific principle that came to mind that I remembered back from school, that I never thought actually applied to business. I always thought it was just this science thing, but I realized that it actually applies to business as well. And once I started applying that, everything changed for me. Now, I'm not I'm not going to try and like turn you into a scientist. I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to be one. But the same principle that I'm going to teach you in this video is the one that people like Elon Musk use to send rockets into space. So it is the same thing that you can use to build a coaching business that you absolutely love. Whether you're starting out just from scratch or you've got a business of some sort and maybe you've like fallen out of love, right? You had all this excitement when you started out building it, just doing the stuff that you love and learning all this stuff and just so much growth. But over time, you ended up creating something that you're like, this is kind of like a Frankenstein. Like, I don't really like it. And I definitely don't love it. Either of those, if either of those are you, you're just starting out or you're trying to create something that you really love, this is going to be able to help you. And what I'm going to teach you comes in part from a $10 million coaching experiment that I did. And I call it the scientific method for scaling. Now, before we dive into this, I want to share with you some really foundational principles of business. Now, I have a degree in business. That doesn't really mean anything. But I went to college. I studied all different, aspects of business from HR stuff to finance stuff to marketing and economics and all that kind of thing. And so I learned a lot. But what I also learned is none of that actually matters. Like none of none of what I learned matters if I don't apply it. Like just having education doesn't mean anything unless you actually use it. And one of the things that I learned, just this pattern that I've seen over time, is that the businesses that are really successful, whether they're, the huge businesses like Fortune 500 ones, or they're like smaller one-person businesses, solopreneurs, right? The businesses that are successful have these things really nailed down. They don't necessarily have to be like written down on paper and just sound perfect, but they have a very clear picture of each of these. So I'm going to show you this framework that has been really helpful for me and kind of just guiding my business decisions. And I think it's going to be just as helpful for you. Now, I call it the 7 W's. Now, the first one is your what. This is what do you do? right? You're watching this video because you're a coach and you're a specific type of coach. Maybe you teach people how to play an instrument, or you're a life coach, or you help people do something that they want to do in their life, have some sort of result, right? For me, my experience is as a business mentor, business coach. That's what I do. I help people grow their businesses online. Okay. The successful businesses really nail this down. Okay. They really know what their calling is, and really what they're doing. And it's not this huge list of things, right? A couple core things, or maybe even just one thing. Okay. So that's your what. The next thing is your why. Now, your why is, why do you do that what? Why do you coach the thing that you do? Now, for me, I've got a long journey of being in business. I've learned some really hard lessons. Um, and I know that I have value that I can share with other business owners to kind of help expedite that process, right? To help make that learning process faster, to help them get that result faster without having to go through everything that I went through to try and figure it out. The other piece is, I just really love the business conversation and the business world. I like talking about, getting clients, getting leads, being able to develop offers that actually solve problems for people, and then doing those things, not just talking about them. And so that's another big why is, I just really enjoy it. It's something that lights me up. I like talking with people who they get me and I get them, that kind of thing. So chances are you've got a really strong why for why you do what you do. Now, the next one here is your who. This one's pretty obvious, but it's, who do you help, right? This is your niche. Now, some people leave it really broad and they say, I help anybody with this specific thing. Other people will really niche down and say, I help this specific person. Regardless of where you're at right now, that's a different topic. But your who is, who do you help? Who are you specifically equipped to serve and help solve a problem? Okay. Now, the next thing that we got here is which. Now, which is your strategy? I have had businesses with multiple different strategies. So my first business was a CAD design business, and I created these computer designs to be able to help solar companies display and help people visualize what their project was going to look like when they hire this company. Now, my second business was very different from that. It was a financial advising uh, business that I built, and it was door to door. It was cold calls, like that sort of thing, sending out physical mailers, right? That's a different strategy than a CAD business. Then I had a multi-level marketing business selling nutritional supplements, and that business model was about developing yourself and other people as leaders and helping them help other people get results with nutritional supplements. That was a completely different type of business model, of strategy, of which, the way in which you do something. From there, we had a fitness studio, right? Then, I had a experience running my own agency, and now I run a coaching business. And so there's a lot of different strategies and approaches to business. That's what your which is, right? Which strategy are you using? Then we've got where. Now, your where is kind of like your positioning. Like, where are you positioning your message in the market? Where are you communicating with your dream clients, right? Are they online? Are they offline? If they're online, where are they? Or if they're offline, where are they? Usually there's places where certain groups of people congregate. So where are you finding those people to generate leads? And then where are you communicating with them to try and turn them into clients, right? Sending out emails or text messages, or making posts on social media. That is your where. All right. Now, the next one is your when. This is an area, or a piece where a lot of coaches online, they just don't think far enough ahead. You've got this idea of this business that you want, but you maybe haven't broken it down into, what steps do I have to take? When do I need to do things? Kind of, what's my approach over time to be able to make these things happen? And then also, Like, how am I communicating with people, with my ideal clients? Like, when am I reaching out to them? When am I doing, maybe you're doing a workshop or an event or something like that. And how are you planning that out and kind of scheduling some of these different actions that you're taking to grow your business? That's something that's really important. If you actually want to grow, you got to have a plan to grow. And that's kind of your when. It's your roadmap for where your business is going. Now, those are the first six of the seven W's. Now, this last one is the most powerful one. And the reason for that is it is the foundation of this scientific principle that I'm going to share with you. This $10 million coaching experiment that I did uses this exact principle. And it is, what if? I think of this as a scenario, your what if scenario. So if you're looking at any of those different areas of your business, let me just bring them back up for you. If you're looking at your what, like what do you do? Or why do you do it? Or who do you do it for? Or which strategy are you using? Or where are you communicating with people? Or when are you doing all these things? Your what if is really your scenario. And I think of it as it's the most powerful question that you can ask as a business owner to be able to improve your business, to make it better, and really create that business that gives you the freedom and the fun and the profit that you're looking for. And if you don't ask this question, that will not happen. You're not going to be able to build what you would love by chance. So this what if is the most powerful question that you can possibly ask. So let's get to this scientific principle that has really helped me change everything for my business and the businesses of the people that I work with. Now, if you grew up like I did, going to school, you were in science class, you learned this, and it's called the scientific method, right? I'm not going to get super geeky on you here. We're going to keep this really simple, but essentially, here's how it works, just as a refresher for you. So, you start out with a hypothesis. This is your big what if question, right? What if I did this? What if I changed that, right? Once you come up with that question, you have some sort of input. Your input is the actual action that you are taking, right? It's the thing that you're doing related to this question that you just asked. Now, when you do that, when you take that action, you're going to end up getting some results. Those results are typically something that you're going to be measuring, right? If you don't measure it, you can't actually tell what happened. So you're measuring it and you get some results, positive, negative, neutral, right? From those results, you're going to have some feedback. That's what F is for, feedback. And that's really, what did you learn, right? What can you learn from these results that you got based on the actions that you took, which came from the question that you asked? So this hypothesis starts with a what if question. And it's the most powerful question that you can ask in your business, bar none. Now, let me give you some examples of each of these. Typically, there are three areas of your coaching business that you should have your attention focused on. Yes, like financial stuff is very important, like, doing your taxes and bookkeeping and stuff like that. Yes, the legal side of stuff, you want to make sure that you're following all the laws, that kind of thing. Those are important. But you will not have a business if you don't focus on these three areas. The three areas are acquisition. I'm just going to say, so that's getting leads, people who may have interest in what you do. Then you've got conversion. So this is presenting an offer to those people who have shown some interest, to seeing how many of them will convert and become a client. And then lastly, you've got transformation. And this is actually delivering on the thing that you promise, helping people achieve that result that they're looking for. So we're going to look at these three key areas just as an example to help you see, like, what kind of what if questions can you ask. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit about how I've used this in this $10 million coaching experiment to show you what type of impact this process and following this can actually have on your business. Okay, so let's go back to square one. So we've got a hypothesis, we've got some actions, that's your input. We get some results and we interpret that results We have some feedback, some things that we learn. Now, maybe we're going to look at those three areas just as an example. We've got acquisition, we've got conversion, and we've got transformation, right? Now, let's work with acquisition first. You have a hypothesis. Let's say that you want to test out making a new type of post on Facebook or something to see what's going to work. So maybe you'll make one Facebook post that's focused on your journey. So your hypothesis here is like, what if I make a different type of post than I usually make, right? What if I make a post about teaching? Most of the time I just talk about myself. What if I make a post actually teaching something? So there's your hypothesis, right? That what if question. Then your actual post, the what you create and what you put out in the world, that's your input, right? So that post might be um, instead of doing all of the like this is who I am and this is what I do personal journey type of thing, maybe you're making a post that's actually teaching something of value, right? That's what you're testing out. You're seeing if that gives you better results than what you have been doing. Okay? So then you get those results, right? Now I'm starting to make my my letters look a little goofy. But you get some results, right? Usually you're tracking something. You're maybe in this case you're tracking engagement. You're seeing how many people comment on it or like it or love it or whatever. Or maybe you have a call to action that actually says, send me a direct message and let me know like what you liked most or something like that, right? So you're tracking those results and you're comparing them to the results that you've had previously. Once you get those results in, that is where you are getting feedback, right? You're interpreting that, figuring out what can I learn from this? Did the results I get outperform what I've done in the past, or did they underperform, or are they equal? And maybe I need to do another test, right? So that's an example of acquisition and using this process to figure out a different way to generate maybe some leads or get your audience to grow. Now, the next one, let's look at conversion, a practical example for conversion. Maybe you've got a sales page right now that you're using for your offer and you've been using it for a while and maybe it's got okay conversion rates, but you really want to be able to improve that. And there's no video on it right now. There's no video of you as the coach on the page. And you're like, what if I put a little video of myself on there? Maybe I'm saying some of the same stuff that's actually on the page, but maybe there are people out there who would rather watch a video than read a bunch of text. So that's your what if question. What if I put that out there? Will it help me get better results? So that's your hypothesis, your what if question. Then you go ahead, you create that video and you stick it on the top of your page. There's your input, right? You run that split test or A/B test, whatever you want to call it, for I don't know, 2 weeks, maybe a month, depends on how many people are coming through your funnel, seeing your page, and you get these results, right? You get a bunch of results from that. Then you take those results, you compare them, and you figure out, can I learn anything from this that I can use moving forward? Maybe the video just flopped. Maybe like your audience just does not like watching video. Well, you learn something, so you take the video back down and you go back to the drawing board, right? Or maybe it totally blows up and it improves your results like crazy. Well, then you leave it there, right? And maybe you try and make a better video or something like that, adjust something else, right? So that's an example of using this scientific method to create a business that you actually love, that gets the results, the freedom, the profit, the fun that you want, and that you've been in this whole business game since the start for. Now, I'll give you one more example. Let's look at transformation. Okay. Let's say that when you bring on clients, you've got this really, really thorough onboarding process. You ask a ton of questions. They're all really good questions. You're trying to get as much information as you can so you can help your ideal client as best as you can. But one thing maybe you started to notice is people aren't answering all the questions, or they're just not really as engaged once they get onboarded, right? So maybe you ask yourself, what if I streamlined the onboarding process and I maybe didn't ask all the questions at once, but I kind of asked them throughout the first couple touch points of working with them just to make it a little bit easier, a lighter load. What if I did that? What if I simplified my onboarding process, right? That's your hypothesis. That's your big what if question. Then your input is you create that new onboarding experience, whatever it looks like, right? And then you got your results. So you're going to maybe measure some results over time. You're going to see if client satisfaction, if people are happier on um, after their onboarding. Or maybe you do a survey and say, like, what did you think about the onboarding experience? And you just get some direct feedback. Or maybe you're measuring client retention, right? or engagement, like how engaged are they with your program? Do they show up to your sessions, consume the content, whatever it is, right? Then you're going to use that information to learn something and change what you're doing, right? So there's a few different ways that I'll typically look at asking these questions, because there's three different ways that you can really approach anything in your business. One, it's either something that it's something that maybe you haven't done before, right? You're looking at trying something new. That's a great what if question. What if I did this that I haven't been doing so far? What would that do for my results? The second one might be, what if I changed this? What if I'm doing it this way and I want to try doing it this way, right? That's the second one. And then the third one is, what if I stop? Like, what if I'm doing this thing and I just stop doing it? How does that impact results, right? So those are three different um, types of what if questions that you can ask in those three categories that you can ask them, right? Growing your audience, acquisition, getting more clients, conversion, or helping change people's lives, and that's transformation. Okay. Go back to that $10 million coaching experience that I was telling you about. Now, what happened with this business? So they're a high ticket coaching business. I'm just going to redraw this so that you can have it in the top of your mind while I'm sharing this story with you. It's a coaching business, high ticket coaching business, and their product is anywhere from $6 to $36,000. Okay. Now, they had been selling their offer via a phone call, but to generate leads, they use a 5-day challenge. That's their witch, right? Their strategy. Now, up until the point where I started working with them, they had focused this challenge around one particular aspect of what their ideal client needed to do to get the result they wanted. So this client helped people start businesses online, and they had focused this challenge on marketing. It was all about attracting the right person and working through mental roadblocks and how do you get your message out there, that kind of thing. Now, it was pretty successful funnel to get started with. They were making about 1.7 million per year. Okay. They were doing all live events for this in order to bring people in. And that was pretty successful. It took a lot of time and energy, but they were getting a return on it. So the question that I asked when I came in was, what if there's a better topic? What if there's something that can improve your conversion rates more than just talking about like marketing and your ideal client, right? What if you tried to work with a little bit more sophisticated person who's not just starting out their business from scratch, maybe somebody who's in business and they're getting people who are interested, but they're not able to close them. They're not able to convert them into clients, right? So the big hypothesis here was, what if we create a challenge that's focused around sales, right? It's a big question. So we did a little bit of research. I helped them try and ask some questions for their audience to figure out, like, what do you want to learn? What are the gaps in your knowledge? What are the skills you need to develop? That kind of thing. And so we used that information. It ran some ads to try and figure out, like, what do we want to call this challenge? What would people be interested in? That kind of thing. And we created this whole new challenge together around sales. So that challenge was our input. I'm not going to try and write the I over. You got so that challenge was our input. There we go. Okay. Now we launched that challenge, right? The company goes through the 5 days. They've got their presenter there presenting just really great content. They've got the team working on the back end, answering all the questions, getting people hooked up with their phone calls, that kind of thing. At the end of the day, brand new topic. Their old topic was generating about 1.7 million a year. I think they did 4 or 5 of those events before I started helping them with it. That new topic completely flopped. It was awful. The results were horrible. They didn't get the calls that they had hoped for. The people who got signed up for calls, lots of them didn't show up. The people who did show up, lots of them didn't buy. They had fewer sales than they had ever had in the past, right? So when you do these experiments, because that's really what they are, they're just testing something new. It's not about whether you win or lose. right? You're not failing. You're taking that information and you're learning from it. So there were a couple things that we discussed. I helped them kind of work through this at that point. It was one, do you take this brand new topic and do you try and massage it and figure out what went wrong and try and improve that and make it better? Or do you go back to the thing that was working that you got some results from and you try and make that better? So we had a conversation about that and decided the best thing that they should do. I recommended you go back and you focus on the original strategy that you had with focusing on marketing. Okay. Now we went to the back to the drawing board with that and looked at every little piece along the way. One of the key things that I implemented is right here. This one doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but the feedback. Now, this challenge that they were doing, they were not collecting any type of feedback from people doing this challenge. It was a massive miss on their part because these people could provide some really valuable insight into how to make the business better. If you don't have a feedback loop in your business to get direct feedback from people that you're serving or trying to serve, you are missing out. So, one of the first things that I helped them do with this marketing topic was create a feedback survey from people who took this challenge. So, we had them run it a couple more times and we asked a bunch of different questions. What did you like about this challenge? What do you want less of? What do you want more of? What skill do you feel like you need to develop after you learned all these great things in the challenge, right? We asked a whole bunch of different questions. We even asked, did you book your call or not? And why or why not? And so we got some feedback on a lot of different touch points along the journey, really key pieces of feedback. And I suggested that we take all of that feedback and we implement it. We implement it everywhere in the process. We implement it in your marketing, right? In the ads, in the blog posts, in the emails that you're sending out to try and get people to sign up for this, right? Then on all of the actual pages to get people to sign up, right? We we changed a whole bunch of their pages. We put different messaging on. We used words that their ideal client specifically used in the feedback forms. So it's like we're speaking to them better and more eloquently than they can even express the problem that they have themselves. We did it inside the actual content, right? We adjusted the content. We put all sorts of specific things that use testimonials from people who were just like our ideal client versus, anybody. We adjusted some of the content based on what they said they wanted more of and less of and that kind of thing. We even adjusted some of the sales process to be able to make that more specific to the people going through this event and really be able to tie those two pieces together, the event that they're attending and then the call that they're getting on. So we adjusted everything. Now, here's where the amazing thing happened. As I had mentioned, this company had done this challenge before, right? They had done it 5 or 6 times. They had made about 1.7 million from those challenges, all together. And when we made all of these adjustments, there were so many things that we had changed, and we did a little bit over time, right? We made some little tweaks here and there. We asked some more what if questions, some smaller ones, some bigger ones, and we kind of massaged this over time. But what ended up happening is they went from 1.7 million per year to they had their first ever $1 million month in one single event. They made over $1.1 million when previously it took them a year and 5 events, 5 or 6 events to be able to make 1.7 million. We optimized it so they made $1 million in a single month. It was incredible. They had never experienced something like that before as far as optimizing and tweaking and just making the process better. And that's what this is all about. Now, the reason I call this a $10 million coaching experiment is there's something else. I encouraged them after we hit this $1 million month. I knew that this was coming for them, that they were going to see results like this. I just had a feeling about it. And so I was trying to have a little bit more uh, foresight into the future. Like, what is the next step after this thing really hits and takes off? What is the next step that you can do to make this even better? Now, as I mentioned, that $1 million month that they had, it was another live event, right? They had the presenter there for 5. Actually, it ended up being 6 days. Uh, they had all their team on the background doing all these different things, responding, customer service stuff, all that sort of stuff. And it was a lot of time, it was a lot of energy, it was a lot of money. Their sales team, right? They get a huge influx of people trying to call. So there was some issues with that, getting back to people and stuff like that. And I asked another question. Here's the question I asked. What if, what if you could automate this? What if you could automate this whole challenge experience and be able to give people the same type of experience, or at least as close to the same as if they were taking it live? What could happen? So we started the process over. We asked the what if question. We made some changes. We took some actions and had a new input. We got some results for them. We got some feedback from that. There were some kinks. We had to go through that process a couple times. And that's just what business is, right? It's testing something, it's trying something new, it's following this cycle of ask a question, try something new, get some results, get some feedback and learn something and then repeat, right? It's just a circle. Here's what happened. This coaching company, they were previously at 1.7 million per year, just like I said. Then we achieved a $1.1 million month with this live event. Incredible. They had never done it before. So cool. So cool to see that. Like people, there's lots of people who want to make $1 million in a year, which is, it's a really cool goal. It's a cool benchmark, whatever that means to you. But seeing it happen in a month is even a whole nother thing. Like just so much excitement and energy surrounding that. But here's what happened. When we asked that question and we started implementing that process to figure out what if we could make this something that happened on autopilot, here's where it ended up landing. Over the course, and again, this is not for a whole year. This process was implemented just before the start of quarter 4. So there were a couple live events leading up to this, and then they implemented this, we'll call it an evergreen challenge process. In that year, they made over $8 million turning this challenge, this strategy on autopilot just by asking that one simple what if question. There's a lot of work that goes in behind that, but it more than quadrupled what they had ever done before from a revenue standpoint. Just completely mind blowing. And like I said, this process wasn't implemented until almost quarter 4. It was like the end of quarter 3, right? If this process, all they have to do now is take this exact same thing and run it for an entire year. Right now, they are pacing for over $10 million per year from this single strategy. But not only that, because it's on autopilot, the presenter can go and do other things. The team can go and work on other projects. This is completely automated except for a few small pieces. So here's why I'm sharing this with you. When you follow this process, you can go from results like this to this, results from this to this, and results from like this to this. That is the process of asking this question, what if, from following this scientific method for scaling. It was one big experiment that we did that led to this business being able to be on pace for over $10 million per year in a coaching business from an automated funnel. Now, here's why this is so important. When you stop guessing about stuff and you start experimenting, you follow this process, you get this clarity that you can't experience any other way. And that clarity will help you to know where to focus your time and your energy and your resources. And that is what gives you freedom, right? You want freedom in your coaching business. That is how you get it. Now, what if one small tweak for you, one small tweak in your acquisition or your conversion or your transformation, one of those areas of your business, what if one small tweak could double your leads or triple your income or, I don't know, give you more time to do what you love, spend time with your family? I know for me, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I just want more time with my family. So, whatever that is for you, what if you could get more time doing what you love? You could get more freedom from your business, have more fun in your business, and have the income and the profit that you need to be able to make a difference in your life and the lives of other people around you. What could that do for you? So let me leave you with this. Here's your challenge. I want you to just pick one area of your business, either attraction or conversion or transformation. Focus on whatever area that you have a problem in right now. If you've got a problem growing your audience, you don't have enough people to show your offer to, focus on attraction. If you've got plenty of people to show your offer to, but nobody's buying, focus on conversion. If you got plenty of people buying, you got lots of clients, but they're not getting the results that you want, or they're not sticking around for as long as you want, or they're not giving you referrals or something, focus on transformation. And then ask a what if question. Run your own experiment. Ask the question. Create and try something new. Track your results and see what happens. And then use that feedback to interpret what you're going to do next. So pick one of those areas, comment down below and let me know. Let me know what your what if hypothesis is, and I'll help you refine it, because one of the most important things, it's not just about following this process, but the quality of questions that you ask will determine the quality of answers that you get.